Hey guys, Button25 here watching the docking of Soyuz MS-03, or just 3, whatever you want to call it. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's Korolev. I'm not sure at the Russian Flight Control Center.
Good day from the Russian Mission Control Center in the town of Korolev outside of Moscow. Welcome to our coverage of the arrival of 3 new residents to the International Space Station. You're looking at a view from a balcony camera overlooking the International Space Station Flight Control Room here in Korolev, where a huge crowd of NASA, European Space Agency, and Russian Federal Space Agency officials, family and guests, and VIPs are on hand to watch the arrival a short time from now of the 3 new residents who will board the International Space Station a bit later this morning. That trio consisting of Oleg Novitsky, the Soyuz commander, who is strapped into the center seat of the Soyuz MS-03 vehicle. To his left, the board engineer number 1 from the European Space Agency, Thomas Pesquet, and to Novitsky's right, NASA flight engineer Peggy Whitson, who is about to arrive for her 3rd long-duration mission aboard the International Space Station in what should be ultimately a record-breaking tour for Whitson on board the International Outpost. The 3 crew members will be joining later this morning the 3 current residents on board the International Space Station. NASA Commander Shane Kimbrough, his Russian colleagues Sergei Ryzhikov and Andrei Borisenko, who arrived aboard the International Space Station just a month ago on October 21st aboard the Soyuz MS-02 vehicle, which is docked to the space-facing port of the Russian segment of the International Space Station, the Poisk module. The destination for Whitson, Novitsky, and Pesquet is the Earth-facing port on the Russian segment of the International Space Station, that being the Rosviet module that is attached to the Zarya module of the International Space Station.
That was the first module, by the way.
18 years ago this morning, Moscow time, on November 20th, 1998. So an anniversary being celebrated with the arrival of 3 new residents to the International Space Station that will bring Expedition 50 to a full complement of 3 crew members.
Okay, it seems the TV camera on Soyuz is a bit shoddy.
At this hour, the International Space Station is flying 251 statute miles above the Earth, moving from northwest to southeast in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator, flying over the Pacific Ocean. Soon, the complex will be making a swing across the southern Atlantic Ocean, where docking is expected to occur within the hour. The docking time is scheduled at 4:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 a.m. Moscow time, if everything goes as planned. So far, so good. The Corps' automated rendezvous system on the Soyuz MS-03 vehicle, as well as the corresponding hardware on the service module, the Zvezda service module of the International Space Station. Those 2 systems have locked on to one another as we continue a steady approach and a pinpoint approach by the Soyuz vehicle for an on-time docking to the Rosviet module of the International Space Station.
Дальность 9,5, скорость минус 14,8, есть единица из захвата.
Just 2 days ago, from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, the temperatures were frigid, but the
Soyuz MS lifted off.
As engine ignition occurred on the Soyuz MS-03 vehicle, at liftoff occurring at 2:20 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, which was 2:20 a.m. Baikonur time in the wee hours of Friday morning on the central steppe of Kazakhstan. An 8-minute, 45-second ascent for the Soyuz booster and its Soyuz spacecraft. Everything went by the book with 3rd stage shutdown and spacecraft separation, followed a few seconds later by the deployment of the navigational antennas and the solar arrays on the Soyuz MS-03 to begin an automated approach and all of the engine firings in this rendezvous that have brought the Soyuz virtually now into the neighborhood of the International Space Station. Again, docking is scheduled at 4:02 p.m. Central Time this afternoon within the hour. The Soyuz will arrive at what is known as a ballistic targeting point about 11 minutes from now at the bottom of the hour After that, it will begin a fly-around of the International Space Station at a fly-around angle of just 56 degrees to precisely point the docking probe, which has been extended at the forward end of the Soyuz's orbital module, the upper stage, if you will, of the three sections of the Soyuz vehicle, for a short period of station keeping to allow flight controllers here in the Russian Mission Control Center to precisely calculate and assess the alignment of the Soyuz and its docking probe to the Rassvet module before the command is given to begin the final approach for contact and capture, which again should occur at 4:02 p.m. Central Time, 5:02 p.m. Eastern Time, just after 1 a.m. here in Moscow on a Sunday morning.
Камеры GoPro включили вовремя, подтвердите. Подтверждаем, камеры не вовремя. Хорошо, я понял.
Half a world away at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, at the International Space Station Flight Control Room, the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers has taken its place on console. They are watching over all of the systems of the International Space Station. Today on console, leading this flight control team is Flight Director Tony Sakachi, second from your right, joined on console by former astronaut and now Flight Director T.J. Creamer. Also, just at the top of your screen, a pair of astronauts, Jessica Meir, second from the top of your screen, who will be talking to Shane Kimbrough and his crewmates aboard the International Space Station in the terminal phase of this rendezvous. At the very top of your screen, veteran astronaut and now a member of the commercial crew cadre, Sunny Williams, who is sitting on console as a Soyuz systems expert, should her expertise be required during the course of the final phase of today's rendezvous for docking.
Yeah, you can see the station right in the center of the camera there. It's a TV camera equipped with Soyuz, which I've stated, but I'm also stating for some people who aren't that familiar with how these things go.
Дальность 6300, скорость минус 10.
This goes over, by the way.
While the Soyuz is in the terminal phase of its approach for docking to the International Space Station, other space news being made down at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida.
That was
where
Flight
Atlas
541.
5 rocket on a cloudless day stands poised for launch at 5:42 p.m. Eastern Time to carry the geostationary operational environmental satellite R-Series, or the GOES-R satellite, into orbit. The first in a cadre of next generation of geostationary weather satellites that will significantly improve the detection and observation of environmental phenomena that directly affect public safety, protection of property, and the nation's economic health and prosperity. The launch coverage for the GOES-R satellite will begin first on the NASA TV media channel at 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Once we complete our docking coverage, then that will be joined and co-anchored both on the public and media channels of NASA television.
So I might switch over to media channel then. Yeah. Well, no, I think... No, I'll watch the launch and then we'll go over to that one.
Получаем хорошее телевизионное изображение, видим станцию в центре. Мы тоже наблюдаем ВСК. Дальность 5300, скорость минус 9,1. Есть единица, есть захват.
The Soyuz MS-03 vehicle is less than 5.5 away from its destination for docking to the Rossviet module of the International Space Station, currently closing at a rate of about 9 meters per second. Everything continues to go normally. For this very precision-like approach by the Soyuz, you're looking at a view from an external camera on the Soyuz vehicle as it captures its view of the International Space Station. In the lower left-hand corner of this engineering overlay, you see the distance and the rate of closure, now just under 5 kilometers away from contact and capture to the International Space Station.
That sound really gets on my nerves now.
Есть одновременное включение ДПО. Да, наблюдаем. Дальность 4400. Скорость минус 8,6, есть единица, есть захват. Принято.
If everything goes as planned, with docking scheduled within the hour at 4:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 a.m. Moscow time, the post-docking scenario would call for the relative motion of the Soyuz vehicle and the International Space Station to dampen out so that the force of contact, if you will, of the Soyuz against the docking mechanism on the Rossviet vehicle would enable a relative motion of about 0 between the two vehicles before the docking probe begins to retract on the Soyuz to pull the two docking interfaces flush against one another and enable hooks to close to form a hard mate between the Soyuz and the Rossviet module of the International Space Station. That will commence about a 2.5-hour period of leak checks and other systems checks on both sides of the docking interface, the pressurization of the small passageway between the Soyuz and the Rossviet module that will lead to the opening of the hatches between the two vehicles that is scheduled at about 3:35 a.m. Moscow time or 6:35 p.m. Houston time, 2.5 hours after docking.
Дальность 3400, скорость минус 8,4. Дальность 300, скорость 8,5, знак минус. Принято. Идем выше трубки. Я вас понял. Сейчас процесс должен нормализоваться.
Why only one set of panels visible?
We can hardly read you.
Я говорю, пока все идет нормально, процесс
I'm
должен
saying
нормализоваться.
everything is going nominally. And everything should become as expected. We do have some jumps in the range
Дальность 2,
on course.
скорость минус 8,3. Есть единица, есть захват.
we have range 2.8 and range rate minus 8.3. We have expedition.
Range is 2.5 and range rate is 8. We copy.
This is Mission Control Korolyov, just 32 minutes away from the anticipated docking of the Soyuz MS-03 to the Rosviet module of the International Space Station. Everything proceeding on track as the International Space Station with the Soyuz in pursuit flies 251 statute miles over the South Pacific in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator. Everything continuing to proceed on track. The Soyuz currently executing a series of what are known as impulse burns, small thruster firings to precisely fine-tune the Soyuz's path to the International Space Station. You're currently looking at the view from the Soyuz external camera aboard the Soyuz. Again, in the center seat, flying under the call sign of Kazbek, is veteran Russian cosmonaut Oleg Novitsky. To his left, European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet. And to Novitsky's right is veteran NASA flight engineer Peggy Whitson, who will surpass a variety of records during her stay on board the station, including the all-time record for most days in space by an American astronaut, that currently held by Jeff Williams, recently set
they just keep
to
breaking
break
them.
Williams' record for most days in space by a U.S. astronaut on April 24th.
We copy.
God, that sound. That sound, it's very fun.
We see that the station is at the center of the SK, and on the video camera
The SK, I think that's the
International Space Station growing ever larger in the field of view, with the Soyuz now just 1.6 kilometers away, closing at a rate of 4 meters per second. At the time of the final approach and contact and capture, the Soyuz will be traveling at a glacial rate of about 1/10 of a meter per second for contact and capture to minimize the rates imposed on the International Space Station at the point of docking. We, of course, will be reporting everything through the closure of the hooks to make sure that everything is in place for a hard mate between the Soyuz and the Rosviet module that will set the stage for a couple of hours of leak checks and vestibule pressurization preceding the opening of the hatch that will enable Novitsky, Pesquet, and Whitson to board the International Space Station to join the current Expedition 50 trio of Station Commander Shane Kimbrough and his 2 Russian cosmonaut colleagues, Sergei Ryzhikov and Andrei Borisenko. This will complete 2 launches and a Soyuz landing within a 4-week period, very impressive by anybody's yardstick, as the station goes back to a 6-person crew for the next several months.
Right. It didn't come as a surprise, so everything should be going fine.
Crap, what did I press? Yep, sorry. Back to this. Accidentally hit backspace. There we go, we're back.
Range is 1,200 and range rate is 3.8. If it's better for you to work with no AGC, then you get deactivated. We actually adjusted it, and for now it's the best option. Copy. 1,200 is the range, and range rate is minus
Идем выше трубки.
And we are slightly above the corridor.
Принято.
Copy.
Ожидаем коррекцию скорости сближения.
We see, we are standing by for the depot thrusters range rate adjustment. We copy.
Дальность 1000, скорость
1000 is the range rate is 3.6.
That closed in quite quickly there, because just a few minutes ago it was just this tiny speck, and now it's taking up most of the screen.
Есть работа
We
депо.
confirm depot thruster activation.
Принято.
Copy.
Есть падение скорости.
We confirm that the retrograde burn
Which is to slow down the vehicle.
has been successful. We're decelerating. Range is 900 and range rate is decreasing. It's 2.5.
Скорость
Copy.
You can see it closing
Minus
these little things
2.8
at the
is the
corner.
range rate.
Cording off.
All of the Soyuz thruster firings, so-called impulse burns, continue to be executed flawlessly per the timeline. This is all an automated approach by the Soyuz, which will begin a 56-degree fly-around of the International Space Station about 5 minutes from now to precisely align the forward docking probe of the Soyuz craft with the Earth-facing Rosviet module's docking port.
The station is performing the yaw maneuver, is moving in
Now
the
you can see
yaw
Soyuz.
to the left and
MS.
to the right. We see the movement to the left and to the right. Kazbek.
Дальность 8.
Range is 800 and range rate is 2.3 meters per second.
Есть обобщенная
We
ГСО.
confirm combined gas, so
Есть включение депо.
we confirm thruster activation.
Дальность 700.
Range is 740 and range rate is 2.3 meters per second.
There you go. Yes. That there's Rosviet, I think.
This view now of the Soyuz MS-03 closing ever so steadily for its docking to the Rosviet module of the International Space Station, now just 700 meters away, soon to begin its fly around of the International Space Station, closing at a rate of 2.2 meters per second. All of the Soyuz systems in excellent shape, everything tripping along nicely on the timeline that will lead to an expected docking to the Rosviet module at 4:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 a.m. Moscow time.
4:02. That's another a bit less than half an hour.
Есть включение
From
We
now.
confirm activation of the depot
Мы
thrusters.
находимся в трубке, все нормально.
Copy. We are within the corridor, so everything is nominal.
Дальность.
Range is 590 and minus 1.5 meters per second is the range rate.
Принято.
We copy.
Ждем выход на
We
ближний
are
час.
standing by till the final approach part.
Ожидаем.
We are standing by.
Дальность
The
700.
range is 560. The
11.
range rate is 1.4 meters per second.
Once again, you're looking at the Soyuz MS-03, which just 2 days ago lifted off from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in
both panels
Kazakhstan on a
deployed
pre-planned
on the left and right side of the
34-orbit
vehicle.
2-day rendezvous to the International Space Station. All of the approach
Cameras,
burns
panels
and
follow
engine firings pre-programmed into the Soyuz computer have been executed flawlessly, no issues, as the International Space Station and the Soyuz fly over the South Pacific, about to begin a southwest to northeasterly track that will carry it across the coast of Chile a short time from now. We are just about 22 minutes away from docking, and we'll begin the fly around of the International Space Station about a minute or so from now.
0.4 for range. Range is 450, and the range rate is -1 meters per second.
Принято.
We copy. Range is 412 and range rate is 0.9
Понял вас.
with a minus, and we copy. We confirm the roll maneuver.
This is Mission Control Korolyov. The fly-around of the International Space Station by the Soyuz MS-03 has begun. Once again, you're looking at the vehicle with Oleg Novitsky strapped into the center seat of the descent module, the center section of the three-section Soyuz spacecraft. To his left is board engineer number 1, Thomas Pesquet of the European Space Agency. To his right, Peggy Whitson, the veteran NASA flight engineer, soon to be a record breaker, as she begins her third long-duration stay on board the International Space Station. All of the Soyuz systems continue to function flawlessly, as the Soyuz is now at a distance of just 340 meters. We're closing at a rate of 0.8 of a meter per second. Once this short fly-around ends in about 2.5 to 3 minutes, we will have a period of station keeping, just a few minutes where the brakes will be put on. The Soyuz will be stationary as a final assessment of the alignment of the forward docking probe begins by Russian flight controllers here in Korolyov before final approach commanding is issued to the Soyuz to begin its closure of the final several hundred feet prior to contact and capture.
Наблюдаем.
We see that. We just see the service module now. Let's wait for the docking. Node coming back. And the range is 230. And I think it's 290.
Понял.
390. 290. Continue monitoring the sizes on the monitor.
Soyuz to the left of your screen. Oh, some kind of ocean, but that's not surprising unless the planet is ocean.
Data that we are receiving, you're continuing with the fly around and everything is looking good. Range per course is 280.
Station Houston First Shane on space to ground.
Copy, and range is minus 45.
With it, Jessica, go ahead.
Okay, Shane, I'll just raise you on 3.
We see the docking port.
...260 meters away, closing at a rate of less than 0.5 meter per second. The Soyuz about to wrap up its fly-around and begin a short period of station keeping. Everything continues to proceed on track, with docking scheduled at 4:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 a.m. Moscow time.
I really heard them say on docking scheduled, not docking.
Oleg Novitsky, Peggy Whitson, and Thomas Pesquet.
SM diameter is a little bit more than
And as we continue our coverage of the Soyuz docking here on the public channel of NASA television, we're about to switch the media channel over to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for coverage of the launch of the Atlas V rocket and the GOES-R environmental satellite. We will continue here on the public channel, however, with our coverage of Soyuz and its arrival at the International Space Station.
Data is 2:30. Copy. We copy and confirm.
Мы не получаем
We are not getting any video image, guys. Please report in detail what you're seeing on your side.
Soyuz currently executing a pre-planned roll maneuver that will precisely align its solar arrays in the correct configuration and orientation for its final approach for contact and capture to the Rassvet module.
At first there's going to be some station keeping.
We do not have any comm on our side, and we do not have any image. We copy you loud and clear. How Kazbeki, we're not getting any video image. Please report.
That's unnerving.
Copy. We continue with the roll maneuver. We are on the axis of the docking board. Range per course data is 213. And visually, that's what it is. What about angular rates? They're fine. It was pretty shaky before. Okay, let's wait for the station keeping and then for the final approach. Please confirm that K-15, the K-15 command illuminated, that retreat is not illuminated. It is not. Copy. Great.
No view of Soyuz from that camera. I think it's on the truss.
Perfect. You have a go to send on the input 1 control panel. You can send the final approach command. Copy. In work. All right. Please press.
Having completed its fly around of the International Space Station and now station keeping at a distance of 200 meters away, we are about to receive the final command for the terminal approach of the Soyuz to the International Space Station. A good view of that Soyuz vehicle from external cameras on the International Space Station. The station and the Soyuz currently flying along the east coast of South America, from southwest to northeast, currently over Argentina, about to cross the border to Uruguay.
You're still not at the 40-meter mark. All right, we are sending the final approach command. The command went through successfully. Copy. We see the depot thrust activation and the change in the range rate.
Через 7 минут ожидается вход в тень.
And you will hit the sunset in about 7 minutes. Copy. In about 7 minutes, we will be in the sunset. GSO 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have LSK message on our monitor. We copy. That's good news. Range is 68 per course data. And range is...
Launched in a Delta rocket, October 16th,
Okay, I
1975.
think NASA made an oopsie.
NASA turns to the engineers and analysts in its launch services program to send robotic spacecraft on their way for some of the most exciting and notable missions in the agency's history. The Launch Services Program, which is known as LSP, is based at NASA's Kennedy Space Center here in Florida and has a roster of engineers and technicians who specialize in all aspects of rocketry and spacecraft integration. LSP selects the appropriate launcher for a mission spacecraft, in this case, the United Launch Alliance Atlas V for NOAA's GOES-R. The selection process takes place years before the first launch opportunity. The program then provides oversight as the designs of the rocket and spacecraft are integrated with each other. And as liftoff nears, teams oversee the launch vehicle's engineering and manufacture and its integration with the spacecraft. LSP conducts the countdowns for NASA's missions here and provides additional quality assurance along with other controls to ensure a successful mission. LSP managers are here, right next door to us in the Mission Director Center, overseeing today's activities. Our NASA LSP Launch Mission Manager today is Omar Baez, seated in the center of the screen.
Great. I think you're broadcasting the wrong thing, guys.
Atop the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket in the 541 configuration. One of the most powerful rockets in the Atlas V fleet, the 541 configuration with 4 Block C solid rocket boosters provides the optimum performance to precisely deliver GOES-R to its desired place in space. In addition to completing 2 national security missions, an Atlas V 541 configuration rocket launched NASA's Curiosity rover on its 10-month, 354 million mile journey to the surface of Mars.
You're broadcasting the wrong thing, guys.
Today will be the 67th Atlas V launch and the 113th United Launch Alliance launch. The launch team here in the Atlas Spacecraft Operations Center, comprised of managers from NOAA, NASA, and United Launch Alliance, has been on console since about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Operations began about an hour ago to fill the Atlas booster and Centaur upper stage with liquid oxygen. The tanks will reach flight level at about T-minus 5 minutes. Liquid hydrogen is loaded into the Centaur tank, while the Atlas was fueled with RP-1, a rocket-grade kerosene, on Friday afternoon. All fueling operations are proceeding normally. They got started a little bit late as the teams worked through a couple of minor issues, and the offset from that is that our hold that occurs at the T-minus 4 minute mark, normally a planned 15-minute hold, now will be a 6-minute hold, as launch managers borrowed 9 minutes from the T-minus 4 minute hold and added it to the hold that was in place prior to the start of fueling. So we'll enter that hold at 5:32 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 minutes away from launch. Again, everything is proceeding normally. Weather is 100% go, and we're at...
But you're still broadcasting the wrong thing out here. You're broadcasting the Soyuz
28
launch.
seconds and counting. This is Atlas Launch Control.
Great, but you're... Really?
T-minus 43 minutes.
You're broadcasting on the wrong thing, guys. Am I on the wrong thing?
ANLC Field 2. Go ahead. Top 50. Step 590, Centaur LH2 at 96.2%. Topping started.
Roger. Perform Centaur fill and drain valve.
Alright, well, maybe this will be the same.
Both the International Space Station and the Soyuz fly in tandem at a speed of 5 miles per second over Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, it's back. There we go.
1 degree from the crosshairs. We copy. Could you select the ruler here? The target is slower by 1 degree. The crosshairs are almost aligned.
There's this nice Soyuz.
We copy.
See the Soyuz closing into the docking port.
Range
Yet.
is 25 meters.
Понял вас.
Copy.
Yep. Well, Not going up.
The
target is almost in the center and the crosshairs are aligned. We copy. We are approaching the 30-meter mark.
You're closer than 30 meters, come on. I hate to disturb you, but that's the truth. So it is closer.
And we confirm we got the message that the SS mechanism is primed. We see that.
I really don't know any of this stuff means, so I apologize.
And the target is in the center.
But then again, maybe we lost quite a bit of useful information due to that. I'm not even sure what to call it.
We are.
So meanwhile, I'm glancing at flight radar. Most of you should know what that is, at least I hope. If you're on my channel, you know what that is. That's a small boy.
Is at 4 squares mark. The range is 14 and...
You know, the interesting thing is, it looks like they're moving so slowly.
It should be.
But they're not. They are moving at several kilometers a second. You know, granted, it's only 0.08 meters per second relative to the...
Less than 20 meters away.
Yep.
One final maneuver to fine-tune its alignment to the Rosviet module's docking target.
Great.
Closing at a rate of 1/10 of a meter per second.
You can see the solar panels of what's it called?
Contact and capture of the International Space Station.
What's it called? Yeah, that's a brilliant name. Cygnus. That's what I was thinking of.
Is too dark for us, so please continue running commentary. Copy. The target is lower by 1 degree with a slight roll to the left by about 2 degrees. The target is 1.5 squares and the range is 10 meters. That's H2O. And target is 1 square down. The crosshairs are aligned. Copy. The crosshairs are aligned. The target is 0.5 degree down, and the range is...
Okay, you can see a bit of Cygnus there.
3.5 meters. We copy. Range is 3.
3? This is 10. Which one of you should I believe?
On the periscope, Veska, what you see? The image is stable. Copy.
There you go.
The target is in the center, the crosshairs are aligned, and we are in the final approach. 3.5 squares. We see the
almost docked.
Target, 4 squares.
And contact.
We confirm mechanical.
Contact confirmed and capture confirmed. The Soyuz MS-03 has arrived at the International Space Station, docking occurring at 3:58 p.m. Central Time, 3:58 p.m. Central Time, 4:58 p.m. Eastern Time, on the 18th anniversary of the launch of the first module of the International Space Station. Expedition 50 has a full complement of crew members.
Come on, let's wait for the hatch to open, yeah?
Docking occurring 251 miles above the northeast coast of Brazil. Once again, docking occurring at 3:58 p.m. Central Time, 4:58 p.m. Eastern Time.
Stand by 1.
So I'm a bit tired.
Okay, on the SSVP display.
I guess I'm going to pause the video here and I'll see you guys for the launch of Gozar. See you.